MeMonster.
Now, if only I could meet someone who wasn't put off by the keyword effects or who viewed me as more than a neighborhood oppa, it'd be perfect. You've got a way with words. Well then, let's wrap up the negotiations, Moon Hyunha said, smiling as she returned to her seat. Since most of the terms had already been ironed out, the final adjustments went smoothly. The core of the agreement was this.
There were other minor details, but those were the important points. The most beneficial part for me was the clause guaranteeing the safety of my properties. Of course, it was limited to this one building and for a set period. However, there was no clause stating that only I could enter the building. This meant that as long as I allowed them in, anyone from Yumyangwoo to Sakayan could enjoy protection from the top 5 guilds in the country. Neither Yuhyun nor the other guild leaders could imagine what I was planning. But it's not like they'd lose out. After all, I could just throw them a bone by giving them first dibs on a mount. I'd make money while lounging around collecting rent. With the contract signed and a few questions about peace answered, everything wrapped up quickly. There weren't any particularly difficult questions, and even the guild leaders and the Hunter Association president were being oddly nice to me. It's not that I didn't appreciate their kindness, it's just unsettling. Especially the way Moon Hyuna kept looking at me like she found me adorable. I'm younger than her, sure, but it felt like she was treating me like her baby brother. Ugh. I'll just have to tolerate it since she's contributing a lot to the building costs. Thanks to you, I had a lot of fun today. Moon Hyuna winked at me as she exited the room. Yes, so glad you enjoyed yourself. I'm exhausted, and I didn't even do anything. Peace, stop chewing on the chair and get down. What's him and destroying furniture lately? That chair looks expensive. Just as I was about to go and get him, someone blocked my way. It was Sung Hyun-jae, the Saesung guild leader. I'll remember the exception clause, he said with a smile. What exception? Oh, forget about that, please. Well then, see you soon. He lightly patted my shoulder before walking past me. Well, becoming the best guild in the world isn't exactly easy, and even 5 years later, he still hadn't managed to. No need to worry. Anyway, it's finally over.
That's right. I've used it a few times, but I haven't seen any S-class stats, or even A-class ones. There were a few B-class, though. Were their initial skills nothing special? Just typical attack and defense skills. Want me to tell you? I can't awaken them for you, though, because of the 30-day cooldown. Nah. Unless it's a healer or a rare special skill, I don't really need a B-class. Yeah, you're so great. I'll let you know if I find a good A-class. Thanks. Just don't make it obvious. Being able to predict A-class or higher awakened and check their skills is a huge advantage when it comes to securing top-tier hunters. If you could only use it once a month like you originally said, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But with no limit, that's a different story. Even if I find them, it's not like I'll secure 100% of them. Of course, but just having the opportunity is valuable. Plus, if things go south, some people might try to get rid of them before they even awaken. I'm not saying I would, but there are definitely people out there who would. It's harsh, but true. Don't worry, I'll keep it quiet and only tell you. Good. You're not hiding anything else, right? Nope. Well, there's a lot I'm hiding, but who's counting? I have 2 titles, and the skills that come with them amount to 8 in total. The lowest of them is S-Class. Unless an SS-Class appraisal skill user shows up, there's no way I'll get caught. And there's no S-Class, let alone an SS-Class, around here. Are you really not hiding anything else? I'm telling you, there's nothing more. It's not like I'm secretly hiding anything. S-Class hunters only get about 4 initial skills at most, right? What more can I be hiding? Maybe if I had time traveled or something. At my words, Yu-hyun nodded. All right. I won't ask how you've been predicting dungeon appearances so accurately.
You say you won't ask, but why are you giving me that look? Without saying another word, my brother left, sulking. Well, good riddance. A custom luxury car, painted in deep, dark tones, was making its way toward High-End's Guild parking lot. It wasn't the only vehicle. I turned away from the window and looked at Sok Gimyoung. At my feet, Peace, who had been lying down, perked up his ears. Other than Hanshin Guild being added, there are no major changes, he informed me. Hanshin was a guild at a similar level to High-End, with its leader being an S-class as well. But with Yarim here and now me, the gap would soon widen. So now all the S-class guild leaders in the country are gathering, except for one who is overseas. Quite a glamorous scene. There shouldn't be any issues, Sok Gimyoung continued, trying to reassure me. Try to keep your answers brief. If you talk too much, you might end up giving away unnecessary information. Don't worry, I'm not planning to spout any nonsense. I do value my life, after all. They may be intimidating people to face, but don't let yourself get too tense. If you feel too anxious, would you like to take a sedative? I'll be fine. I wasn't nervous or anxious at all. In fact, I was so relaxed that it was almost concerning. That said, turning off my fear resistance would be a stupid move, so I'd better force myself to stay on guard. Every person I'm about to meet, except for my little brother, is dangerous and crazy. Then again, even my little brother can't exactly be called normal. It's not like many hunters who frequent dungeons are in their right mind anyway. After a while, PTSD becomes a standard trait. I'm more worried about Peace than myself. The young flame-horned lion wagged his tail the moment our eyes met. I really don't want to bring him along. There's no way they'd try to harm Peace just to keep High-End in check, right? After all, Peace was the most promising top-tier mount. To other guild leaders, he might be an eyesore. They're not dumb enough to pull something that stupid. True, but if by any chance they did, I'd crush their guild to dust, no matter the cost. I've got plenty of cards to play. Peace, come here. I scooped Peace up to get ready to head out. He seemed heavier than a few days ago. Maybe being cooped up in the house had made him gain weight. Today's visitors included guild leaders from the top 3 guilds, plus one more, making it 4. And on top of that, the head of the Hunter Association was here too. All of them were S-class hunters, except for the association head. This'll be my first time meeting them in person. These were all people I'd only ever seen on TV before. The fact that they were all gathering here just to meet me was kind of surreal. To be honest, I feel like being a little arrogant. These people who were destined to live as kings for the rest of their lives, no, as super kings, maybe I should throw my weight around a bit. If you want the best mount, you'd better stay on my good side, super kings. Of course, that's not the smart thing to do. I'll keep playing nice until I've secured my position. I went through a security check before meeting the super kings. Even though my F-rank stats wouldn't even let me take on a C-class, they still thoroughly scanned everything. Naturally, my inventory was sealed too. Well, not really sealed, but that's what they thought. From here, you'll need to go in alone. So no one else is allowed in, huh? As if anyone would dare mess with the people gathered in there. Peace. Be good. No growling or anything like that. Kyung, does he even understand what I'm saying? As I walked down the long corridor, a large door came into view. Without hesitation, I opened it and stepped in. Immediately, several gazes locked onto me. Well, it seemed they'd already noticed me even before I opened the door. So why didn't they open the door for me? Do you think it's easy to open a heavy door with one hand while holding a 10-kilogram cub? You inconsiderate bastards. Hello? I still smiled, flashing a grin.
The meeting room was heavy and imposing in design, but looking at the faces turned toward me, it felt more like I was visiting some entertainment agency. If you took out the white-haired head of the Hunter Association, Everyone else had the kind of chiseled features and youthful appearance you'd expect to see on TV. The oldest among them was the Sesung guild leader in his late 30s. The rest were all in their 20s, and of course, Yuhyun, the youngest, was only 20. Surrounded by these youthful people, I felt even greener. 4 S-class hunters, huh? Trying to stick all of them into one room feels almost impossible. Dear valued customers, it's an honor to meet you all. I decided to set the stage a little. You never know. What if by calling them customers often enough, I eventually reel them in? My skills might not work on a group, but saying I love you a few thousand times doesn't wear out my tongue, so why not give it a try? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will lovingly answer all your inquiries with utmost sincerity. Of course, there will be more sincerity than truth in my answers. At my words, Yuhyun frowned slightly, and the Breaker Guild leader gestured toward a man standing to the side. Let's start with the skill appraisal. Sure, go ahead. Take your shot.
Chapter 42. Then, if you'll excuse me. The man with the appraisal skill approached me and spoke. I wanted to check the status windows of the people here as well, but using my promising talent skill right now would make me stand out too much. I was under the scrutiny of several S-class hunters. If I rolled my eyes towards the air, they'd immediately suspect I was up to something. Grrr. Suddenly, Peace, who had been quietly nestled in my arms, bared his fangs. Immediately, the appraiser stepped back and spoke. Average stats are F-class. Both agility up and willpower up skills are E-class. Did it sense the appraisal skill? Impressive. The Han-Shin Guild leader remarked with admiration. Han-Shin Guild leader, Park Ming-yu, an S-class hunter specialized in defense, and if I recall correctly, he turned 30 this year. He used to be a regular office worker, and among the country's S-class hunters, he had a relatively low profile. His guild, Han-Shin, also operated in the upper ranks without drawing much attention. The only notable thing was that he didn't get along with Kim Sung-han. To be precise, Park Ming-yu had some sort of grudge against Kim Sung-han, seeing him as a thorn in his side. Maybe it was his instincts picking up on Kim Sung-han's potential. If Sung-han ever reached S-class, Park's status as the country's only S-class defense hunter would lose its premium. A C-class level that's still immature. Hansu, try using your skill again. The Breaker Guild leader told the appraiser. Judging by the way she gestured at him earlier, it seems she was the one who brought him. Or maybe he was a member of her guild. Breaker, one of the top 3 guilds. Its leader was Moon Hyuna, the only female S-class hunter in Korea. Well, she used to be the only one. A former tennis player in her late 20s, her main focus was mounts, so she'd naturally be the most interested in them. Currently, Breaker also had the largest collection of mounts in the country, and 2 years later, they'll spend a fortune importing a high-grade mount from overseas. Gang! When the appraiser used his skill again, Peace barked loudly. This time, even though he had kept more distance, Peace really seemed to sense it. It's all right, Peace. As I tried to calm down the excited Peace, the gazes directed at us turned uncomfortably heated. It seems it's real. The Hunter Association president expressed his surprise, clearly impressed. The Flame-Horned Lion, wasn't that an S-class dungeon boss? Moon Hyuna asked Yuhyun. Despite him being 8 years younger and also an S-class guild leader, she spoke to him informally. There were 3 full-grown ones, excluding the juveniles. Overall, they were weaker than a solo boss, but still of S-class caliber. It's been 2 months since the first raid, so the next one will be in a month. What do you say, young master? If another juvenile appears, why don't you hand it over to us? A trade for a high-tier mount with cold resistance is possible. Yu Hyun replied with a smooth smile. Moon Hyuna smiled back in kind. Speaking of which, I heard your lovely junior's level 10 skill is ice-based. I'm curious about the specifics. Hunter Park Yerim mentioned that too much attention is overwhelming. She probably just wants to get along with the only other female S-class in the country. Having a guild leader of the same gender would make things easier for her. Don't worry, I won't break the contract and steal her away. 3 years will pass quickly. She said, laughing. Wow, what an irritating woman. Sure, in 3 years, Yerim can join whatever guild she wants, and it's not unethical to start sweet-talking her early, but it still rubbed me the wrong way. Show some respect and speak formally to my brother. Haven't you already purchased several monster cubs from Haiyan? Don't you think that's a bit greedy? MKC guild leader Choi Se-hwan chimed in. What's his problem now? Choi Se-hwan used to be a soccer player and even served as captain of the national team. I used to like him, but now he's just getting on my nerves. Still, he's using formal language, so that's at least 1 point in his favor. The news spread quickly, considering they haven't even arrived in the country yet. Did you think people wouldn't find out after publicly announcing your intent to purchase? 7 high-tier cubs and 1 top-tier. You've practically swept the market. The top-tier juvenile can be traded for another top-tier with cold resistance or 10 high-tier juveniles, including those with cold resistance. Please feel free to contact us anytime. Yu Hyun replied with ease. It seemed that the recently acquired top-tier monster didn't have cold resistance. Now I'm curious about what kind of creature it is. Young master of Haiyan, it seems you're benefiting quite a bit thanks to your brother. Moon Hyuna chuckled as she stood up from her seat. Her footsteps towards me caused Yu Hyun's previously relaxed expression to tense up a bit. Don't show it, you idiot. Stay calm. We've kept such a distinguished guest standing for too long. Please, have a seat. Moon Hyuna offered, pulling out a chair for me. She smiled beautifully. She truly was stunning, with a perfect figure and a height of over 180 centimeters, even taller than me. I really don't like these S-class hunters. Even Yerim is probably going to grow taller than me. It's depressing. Thank you. I sat down obediently, and Moon Hyuna leaned in. Her proportions were so impressive that I hadn't noticed it on TV, but she seemed bigger than me overall. Before the regression, I'd been in decent shape myself, but now, well, I'm just an F-class who's only cleared 1 dungeon.
A brother who's the Haiyan young master, the guardian of a super rookie, and you even have a cute cat? If we take Han Yujin, do we get the whole package? That's not likely, I replied with a polite smile. It's a standalone item, no bonuses included. Shame, but even just the main item would be satisfying enough, don't you think? I'm afraid it's not for sale, I said, turning my gaze slightly to check on Yu Hyun. He wasn't even looking this way. Good. If you can't control your expression, just don't look at all. Not even for your brother. A long finger touched the back of my neck. Peace, who had been lying on my lap, perked up his ears. Yu Hyun finally turned his head toward me, and our eyes met. Maybe it's a good idea to clarify things here and now. No exceptions for the unsellable item. However, if you become the best in the country, there might be an exception. That's interesting. Moon Hyuna chuckled quietly. So if Sesang Guild is the best, they could buy you right now? At her words, I shifted my gaze toward the one person who hadn't said a word this entire time. Sesung Guild leader Sung Hyun-jae, the strongest hunter in the country, both in terms of his guild and himself. He was looking at me with mild interest. Since he seems to be expecting an answer, I guess I'll give him one. For my younger brother, there's a sibling discount for being the best in the country, I said with a smile. For everyone else, you'll need to be the best in the world to earn that exception. You've got guts, Moon Hyuna exclaimed joyfully. Could she stop slapping my shoulder? It hurts. Even Peace is showing his teeth now. They say brothers resemble each other, and I'm reminded of when that 18-year-old brat was running around saying he was going to start his own guild. You seem more level-headed than your brother. What? What's wrong with my brother? Out of all the people here, he's the most level-headed. You're being way too harsh. My brother is far more level-headed than I am. I couldn't help but correct her. Moon Hyuna exaggeratedly widened her eyes. Are you serious? Of course. Oh my, he's adorable. She burst into loud laughter. What's so funny? Wait, the others are laughing too. Except for Yoo-hyun, who's just sitting there looking serious. Even the Sesung Guild leader has an amused smile on his face. There's no way these people are bored enough to pull a hidden camera prank on me. Right? Yoo-hyun. It seems that your reputation is a bit strange. What a crazy guy pretending to be all innocent in front of his brother. Breaker Guild leader. Yoo-hyun interrupted Moon Hyuna's words. That language is a bit harsh, don't you think? Oh, wow. No wonder you're being so damn polite today. I thought you suddenly matured. But aha! And with that, she broke out laughing again. She was practically rolling on the floor. I wish I knew what was so funny. Pretending to be all innocent? What nonsense! My Yoo-hyun has always been well-behaved and calm. He's never really caused me much trouble. Of course, I know that being a guild leader at such a young age meant he couldn't always stay soft-spoken. But calling him crazy, that's way over the line. Having a good relationship with your brother is a good thing, the Hanshin Guild leader added, as if you weren't the second one to laugh the loudest. Damn it, these people must have driven my brother crazy. I bet they bullied him relentlessly because he refused to back down. Knowing how worried Yoo-hyun is about my safety, it's clear he's dealing with a bunch of underhanded jerks. You don't face a pack of hungry wolves with a dandelion. You shoot at them. Well, brother, you've got yourself a good sibling there, Moon Hyuna said, straightening up from her crouched position. I really don't like her. But if you're really planning to stay unaffiliated, I guess the rumors are true. Yes, I believe that's for the best. Rather than aligning myself with one guild, it's more beneficial to all of you if I stay neutral and focus on mount raising and management. But doesn't that mean you're practically affiliated with Hayan? MKC guild leader Choi Sek-won asked, frowning slightly. I'm merely cooperating with them. I can't handle everything on my own, so I need assistance. Besides, you and the others will also receive special treatment in exchange for your cooperation. There are plenty of guilds, both domestic and international, that need high-tier mounts. This gives you an advantage over them. The 5 guilds gathered here today would solidify their dominance not just domestically, but internationally as well. One of the terms we agreed on was that each guild would get first priority for one of the 5 top-tier mounts I'd be raising. This meant that they could form S-class raid teams with mounts faster than anyone else. They could even trade spots with other guilds, profiting from the deal. It was such a good offer that even So Kim-young, who's usually so calm and collected, had grumbled about me giving away too much. Furthermore, my value is at its peak right now, but it will inevitably decline, so you don't need to worry too much about my ties with Hayan. After all, high and top-tier mounts aren't consumables. The lifespan of these monsters wasn't known, but they certainly wouldn't die off quickly.
Even lower-tier monsters raised for research purposes had lived over 7 years. It was highly likely the higher-tier ones would live even longer. In a few years, people would stop flocking to me. The demand wouldn't disappear entirely, but I'd only need to supply maybe 3 or 4 a year. If another S-class tamer or someone with a similar skill appeared, I could retire even sooner. My dream is to cut back on work and retire halfway in a few years to live a relaxed life. That's the honest truth. Just raise a few baby monsters, take care of my building, and live a peaceful life. Just thinking about it makes me happy. That's the ideal life.
Now, if only I could meet someone who wasn't put off by the keyword effects or who viewed me as more than a neighborhood oppa, it'd be perfect. You've got a way with words. Well then, let's wrap up the negotiations, Moon Hyunha said, smiling as she returned to her seat. Since most of the terms had already been ironed out, the final adjustments went smoothly. The core of the agreement was this.
Chapter 43. It's not like top-tier monsters will be easy to find anytime soon, and the ones coming from overseas will take a while to arrive, so I guess I'll be free for a while. Currently, it's impossible to transport monsters by plane. As a result, the monsters high-end purchased are scattered across the ocean. I hope they all arrive safely without incidents. Hyung. After everyone had left, Yu-Yoon, who stayed behind, called to me. I picked up Peace, who chewed through the chair frame, and turned to look at him. Don't mind what the Breaker Guild leader said. She's known for being a bit crazy. If he feels the need to explain, maybe he's a little bothered after all. I don't care. They've only known you for a couple of years at most. Of course he's changed. He couldn't possibly be the same as when he was younger. But 5 years from now, this kid put his life on the line to save mine. That's all that matters, no matter what anyone says. Even though I said it was fine, Yu-Yoon looked even more uneasy. But I've never done anything that would really weigh on my conscience. Really? Mostly. Come on, I don't expect you to have lived a spotless, perfectly honest life. I only became clean after I came back in time. At my words, Yu-Yoon looked indignant. You said you trusted me before. Yeah, but that's different. I've lived 5 more years than you. I've seen enough to understand how things work. With my experience, you could say I've lived nearly 10 years longer than him. No matter what you've done, I'm sure it was unavoidable, and even if it wasn't, well, blood is thicker than water. I'm not some squeaky clean, upright person who has to dig through every little thing my family's done to be satisfied. Quite the opposite, really. If I were the type who insisted on perfect righteousness, I wouldn't still be standing here. But if the #1 guild in the world called, would you really go? Yu-Yoon asked half-jokingly. If they were the undisputed #1, what would my opinion matter? But such a guild doesn't exist. There's no global guild of that scale yet. Even in 5 years, guilds were barely managing to handle the dungeons in their own countries. Some might influence a neighboring country or two, but becoming a global powerhouse was too difficult. The best they could do was muscle in on Chinese hunters or steal valuable dungeon rights from smaller nations. Of course, there's no guarantee things will play out exactly the same as they did before I regressed. Even just making high-tier mounts more common would change a lot. At this rate, my knowledge of the future might soon become useless. Not that it matters. I'm just aiming to make some money and retire comfortably. When do you want me to check your skills? I'm going to be too busy for a while, sorry. With the slime dungeon and the mount business on top of that, I'm swamped. Since the slime dungeon is so profitable, I guess it's attracting a lot of unwanted attention. Still, the guilds that showed up today won't be able to give you any trouble. The Breaker Guild leader was practically begging you to trade even just one high-tier monster. She had been willing to offer all sorts of compensation, saying she didn't need anything fancy, just something fast and durable. There's not much trouble from domestic guilds, except for some hassle from the association. The real issue is Japan. Why are those guys interfering in another country's business? Because Japan doesn't have a slime dungeon yet, not even a C-class one, so they have to import everything. Now that we've got an A-class slime dungeon, they're having a fit. And it's not just the guilds, it's coming from their government too. I was about to curse. Damn monkeys have no shame. When was it decided that governments would minimize their involvement in guild affairs and only mediate through the Hunter Association, and now they're stepping in to harass a guild in another country? Isn't it still forbidden for governments to interfere with foreign guilds? Yeah, the restriction only applies domestically. Besides, High-End doesn't have any operations in Japan and minimal interactions with them, so apart from the mounts, we're not too affected for now. The mounts? Don't tell me one of the monsters you bought came from Japan. Yu-Yun nodded. A high-tier monster juvenile. It's stuck at the port right now. If we can't resolve it, I'm considering handing it over to Breaker or another guild. They really are playing dirty. Even though they're being blatant about it, we still have to handle things diplomatically. If worst comes to worst, we can ask for help from the association or the government, but it's better not to owe any favors. Wouldn't they step in on their own? We are a domestic guild, after all. They might if things get too extreme. The government's policy of minimizing involvement with guilds is a double-edged sword. Usually it works in our favor, but in cases like this, it's a pain. I guess getting the slime dungeon wasn't all good news. I expected trouble from other domestic guilds, but I didn't think Japan would get involved. Still, it's better than losing the dungeon altogether. Let me know when you have time for me to check your skills. I can always make time. I can take a day off from taking care of the monsters, and other than that... Oh, right. There's the TV appearance. Do I really have to go? Your final Awakener grade has been confirmed as B-Class. The Hunter Association employee said with a smile. From a lifetime F-Class to B-Class in one go. Wow. If I revealed all my titles and skills, I could probably reach A-Class. But I'm satisfied with this. I need to keep a low profile unless my stats are at least B-Class. If you have any objections to the final grade, you can file an appeal with the relevant documents at the reception center within 10 business days.
When there's a large gap between someone's stats and their skill grades, there are usually two ways the Awakener grade is decided: by the grade of the dungeon they can clear, or by an internal meeting of the association. Naturally, mine was the latter. With my current stats, even an F-class dungeon would be tough to clear without equipment. Even with the help of an S-class adult monster, anything above C-class would be dangerous. One stray piece of shrapnel could send me straight to the afterlife with my glass body constitution. B-class? Isn't that too low? As I received my reissued hunter license and turned around, Yerim, who had been waiting for me, grumbled. Standing next to her was Kim Ji-yun, an A-class hunter. They had come along to ensure my safety. Dungeon grading is mostly based on what you can clear. If your stats are F-class, even with good skills, A-class is the best you can get. Unless you have some kind of amazing defensive skill that can protect you perfectly. I lightly humored Yerim, who continued to grumble as we got into the car. Luckily, no one had approached us, though I could feel some distant stares. The news about me hadn't spread far yet. "Mister, when are you going to check my skills?" As soon as she got into the back seat, Yerim started pestering me. Ever since she hit level 10 and got Pale Rain, she hadn't stopped bugging me about it. "I told you to get 2 more skills." "I'm nowhere near level 30, let alone 20. How about we clear a dungeon together? I might get a good skill when I hit level 20. You haven't even gotten your level 10 skill. What makes you think you'll get something at 20? And besides, the dungeon levels don't even match. Don't say ridiculous things. By the way, aren't you filming something soon?" "Yeah, for the association to do a broadcast with a monster, they need at least 3 A-class hunters to accompany them. They're also setting up a hunter-focused special. Moon Hyana Ani is supposed to be on it too." Wait, why is she on it again? Doesn't she have better things to do as a guild leader? "Why do you call her Ani? I'm younger than the Breaker guild leader." If she's not married, she's unny. What about me? You're not married either, but you've got a kid. You're always calling yourself Peace's dad. That's unfair. Sure, I'm raising Peace, but there's a species barrier here, so why am I being treated like a dad? Let's not play favorites. Treat everyone equally. Then I'll start calling Hyana Ani Ajuma. On second thought, just call her Ani. Ani is fine. Yeah, what does age even matter? Strength and power are what count. A woman who can swing a spear twice her height like a fly swatter and crush monsters isn't an old woman. This is my third time at the broadcasting station. Well, if you count before I regressed. The first time was a brief interview about Yuhyun, and the second was about some hunter-related crime, or something like that. Both times, I was pretty much treated like an afterthought, but this time things were different. Wow, is that the monster? It's so cute. I've never seen a monster up close like this before. The ones that come out during dungeon breaks are all creepy, but this cat is so pretty. I was getting attention with every step. Sure, 90% of it was because of Peace in my arms, but there were still quite a few people who seemed interested in me as well. That's because last night, a news segment about the benefits of raising high and top-tier mounts aired on the 9 o'clock news. The report, which spent a significant amount of time detailing the massive advantages of having these mounts, caused quite a stir. They explained that dungeon clear times could be reduced by up to 50%, and the response was enthusiastic. Articles about mounts flooded the portals, and High End Guild ranked third in search results thanks to its connection with both the mounts and S-Class dungeon profits. Of course, my name ranked lower than Yuhyun's. I'm going to get compared again when this airs. I'd be lucky if they only compared our ranks. More likely, they'll compare our appearances too. They'll probably say stuff like, "Wow, the brothers look nothing alike. It's not fair to compare me to a guy with S-Class stat bonuses who looks like a celebrity." For the sake of my mental health, I should probably stay off the internet for a while. This waiting room is nice. Last time, they didn't even give me a chair. But now there's a plush-looking sofa and snacks on the table. Over in one corner, Yerim was having her hair and makeup touched up after the trip over. And on the sofa, welcome, Oppa. Breaker Guild leader Moon Hyana sat with her long legs crossed. Why does she keep calling me Oppa? Hello. Last time she was barefaced, but today she'd put on a bit of makeup. She really was a stunning beauty. I'd rather admire from afar. Hurry up here and sit down. Want a candy? I don't really like sweets. I pretended not to see her patting the spot next to me and sat across from her instead. As soon as I sat down, Peace tried to jump off my lap and I hurried to hold him back. No, stay still. Grrr. We already played a lot before we got here. You can't cause trouble in this place. His energy levels were increasing day by day, making it harder to manage him. I really needed to find a bigger place, even temporarily. It wasn't going to be feasible to keep him cooped up at home much longer. You've really got the hang of taking care of a kid, Moon Hyana said, moving over to sit next to me. Go away. Please don't get so close. People might get the wrong idea. So what? You're going to be raising my kid after all. Ugh, that gave me chills. Why does she have to say things like that? Just then, Yerim shouted as if she couldn't stand it anymore. Mister's gonna raise my kid too! Yerim, what the? She's saying something unimaginable even if it's not literally. What? It's true. Even if it is, you can't say it like that.
And Moon Hyuna, stop laughing, you demon. I really like you. Why don't you come to my guild instead? Save the recruitment pitch for when you meet the conditions. You're so picky. Growl. That's when Peace's ears perked up. Yerim also stood up suddenly. A moment later, I sensed it too, the subtle shift in the air around us. What's going on? I played dumb even though I already knew. Moon Hyuna smiled and waved her hand lightly. One of her Breaker Guild members could be seen speaking to the startled people around them, trying to calm them down. But I couldn't hear what they were saying. I just blocked out the sound. It's a simple skill trick. Doesn't seem that simple to me. Moon Hyuna was known for her exceptional skill versatility,
Not yet, but in a few years. Even now, she's still quite proficient. Do you have something to say that requires this level of secrecy? It's not exactly a secret, but when you're talking behind someone's back, you need to be careful. Behind someone's back? Do you really trust your little brother? I had wondered what she wanted to talk about, and of course, it was about my brother. Of course I trust him. It was such an obvious ploy that I frowned without meaning to. Seeing my expression, Moon Hyuna chuckled. When I first met Han Yu-yeon, I thought, this kid is still just a kid. He ignored all the big names reaching out to him and was dead set on starting his own guild. I thought he didn't know his place. Yeah, even I thought my brother was a little reckless at that point. It worked out in the end, but the chances of him failing were pretty high. Me, the MKC guild leader. The truth is, we're just figureheads. How could young athletes like us manage these massive guilds? They promised to handle all the annoying stuff, and we'd get to sit at the top as guild leaders. It was an offer I couldn't resist. It's a pretty sweet deal. Moon Hyuna tapped her long fingers in the air as she spoke. The Hanshin guild leader is in a similar position. He was a low-level employee at one of Hanshin Group's subsidiaries before he became the chairman's son-in-law. Out of the top 5 guilds in the country, the only real guild leaders are Song Yongjae of Saesung and Han Yu-yeon of Haeyeon. Her words carried a certain weight, but to me, they weren't that surprising. One of the reasons the top guilds collapsed before was precisely because they had figurehead leaders. Moon Hyuna, who claims to be comfortable now, would eventually find the confinement unbearable. Choi Sek-won of the MKC Guild would go through a similar experience. Han Shin stuck around, probably because he was tied by marriage. You don't seem that shocked. Oh no, I'm definitely surprised. You don't look it. Yu-yeon was just a kid with no ID. Watching him build his own guild and secure his position made me realize that kid's a monster. There's no way he's normal, right? You're really going too far by calling him abnormal just because he's talented. Too far? Moon Hyuna snorted. What exactly do you think of your little brother? Well, I hesitated for a moment, before just answering honestly. I've even shared this in interviews before, so there was no reason to hide it. He's always been a good, well-behaved kid. Never caused trouble, always listened well. You raised him yourself, right? After your parents died young. That's not normal. She clicked her tongue. A kid growing up poor without parents, and they're still obedient and well-behaved? Even fairy tales don't go that far these days. It's too unrealistic. No, I wouldn't go that far. A kid is still a kid. If they're lacking something, they'll throw tantrums, get upset, cause trouble for attention, compare themselves to others, and pester for things they want. They'll even resent their guardians sometimes. Parents might still find them adorable, but siblings? I have a younger sibling too, and honestly, they're more like my worst enemy. Of course, there are siblings who get along, especially in families where the parents do a great job. But even in those cases, they still fight. Especially with younger brothers, you have to establish dominance early on. I bet a lot of older siblings would agree. I was a bit taken aback. Is it really that strange to have a well-behaved younger brother? Maybe you could call it a heavenly angel descended to earth. But a real angel wouldn't be able to build a guild while stomping over others. Moon Hyuna shrugged. I'm not trying to stir up trouble, but you might want to reconsider how you see your brother.
Chapter 44. The way Moon Hyuna smiled so brightly, as if she had nothing to hide, was getting on my nerves. Saying she wasn't trying to sow discord? Yeah, right. Just then, her phone rang. Oh, looks like it reached your brother's ears already. She held up her phone to show me the screen. The name Crazy Bastard 2 was displayed. The original Crazy Bastard is, of course, Sung Hyun Jae. Are you going to answer that? Do you want to? She handed me the phone. I pressed the call button. Moon Hyuna, you? Yoo-hyun? I heard a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Hyun? Yeah, it's me. Where's the Breaker Guild leader? She's sitting right next to me, grinning ear to ear. I'm not grinning that much, Moon-Huna muttered. Are you all right? She didn't say anything weird, did she? She was talking behind your back. What did she say? To summarize, she said you're not normal, but don't worry about it. Honestly, she's just as bad, so it's nothing new. Huh? Wait, what? Yoo-Hin's voice was full of confusion. Moon-Huna's eyes also widened in surprise. I smirked as I looked at her. Think you're the only one who can talk behind someone's back? I can too. Or, well, since I'm saying it right in front of you, it's more like talking in front of your face. Should I tell you a little story? It happened a year ago, in spring to be exact. April 2nd, around 5 p.m. at the CS convenience store in Icheong, Gyeonggi Province. Han Yu-jin! Moon-Huna screamed and snatched the phone away, quickly turning it off. Her cheeks were tinged with a hint of red. No way, you couldn't possibly, but no way! Seems like the Breaker Guild leader knows the story. Almost no one knows about that. It's not completely unknown, though. I happen to hear it. Whose mouth it came from is a secret. The embarrassing and insane thing that Moon-Huna wanted to hide would become a card to chip away at her pride 4 years from now. By then, it would be an open secret, but right now, it wasn't widely known. It was such an unforgettable, impressionable incident. I can't even kill you to shut you up! Damn it! Her eyes glared at me with murderous intent. But she can't touch me. We've already signed the contracts. Unless she wants to face a 5-on-1 battle, including the Hunter Association, she has no choice but to hold back. And since she's the one who needs the mounts the most, she won't risk losing that over something like this. Without me, she won't be able to get her hands on a top-tier mount for another 2 years. That's why you shouldn't talk behind people's backs. What goes around comes around. You talk behind someone's back, and your own dirt comes to light. I gave her a sweet smile, and she ground her teeth in irritation. Just then, her phone rang again. Probably Yoo-Hyun calling back. Moon-Huna's eyes flicked nervously up and down. Aren't you going to answer? You'll keep your mouth shut. It's a loss for me too, but I don't want to hear more insults about my brother. Let's both keep quiet, okay? Deal. She answered the call and brushed off Yoo-Hyun's concerns with some vague excuses. When she got the phone back, her expression looked like she had chewed on something sour. You're not as easy as I thought, Han Yu-jin. I never imagined that story would come up. Can I trust you? Of course. If it got out, I'd be embarrassed and lose face. I'd probably want to hide for about 6 months, but that's all it would be. However, I will personally hunt down whoever spreads it. Her voice was calm, but I could feel the sincerity in her words, especially when she talked about hunting down the person. It seemed her patience had its limits. Don't worry. Moon-Huna, you're a dear customer of mine. If you went into hiding for 6 months, that would cause me all sorts of trouble too. Why would I do that? You're good with words. There's nothing else, right? Of course there's more. I've always been an avid viewer of hunter-related shows. I know plenty, but running my mouth recklessly would only lead to headaches, especially since there are others who, unlike the murderous S-Class in front of me, wouldn't be so restrained. As long as no one picks a fight with me first, I'll stay quiet. Would you believe me if I said there wasn't? Oh, right. You're Crazy Bastard 2's brother. I thought you were a bit naive, but I really made a stupid mistake. I'll have to remember this. Naive? Have I been acting that way? I thought the negotiations went well. Have you been underestimating me this whole time? Moon-Huna snorted at my question.
Of course I underestimated you. Think about it. A freshly awakened F-class who still looks like a civilian says Han Yu-hyun is mild-mannered? That's basically like wearing a sign that says, I'm a total newbie who knows nothing about the hunter world. Ugh. I guess I can see why she would think that. Officially, I've only been awakened for less than a month, so I must look like a rookie. In reality, though, I've been a hunter longer than anyone else in that room. But who would ever suspect that? To them, it must have seemed like some half-civilian was talking about his brother from a civilian's perspective, calling him mild. Of course they'd think I was an easy target with some useful skills, ripe for probing, just like Moon Hyuna had been doing earlier. No wonder they were being so unusually friendly. I hope the others won't be as much a headache as you. Hey, don't be so cold. Just call me Une, okay? Moon Hyuna had regained her composure, resting her chin in her hand with a teasing smile. Une, my foot. Mentally, I'm 30. I'm only rushing things because of the mounts. The others will approach, but not as aggressively. You and your brother are really two of a kind. I guess I'll be sticking to the guild building for a while. Moon Hyuna flicked her fingers, and I could feel the air around us shift. The voices of the people outside the sound barrier rushed back in. Mister!
Ye Rim came running over, casting a sharp glance at Moon Hyuna. You promised not to bother him, didn't you? Did they make such a promise? I guess Yu-yun wouldn't have agreed to let me meet me otherwise. Did I bother him? We were just having a conversation. Moon Hyuna raised her hands in mock innocence. Well, to be fair, she didn't actually touch me. Ani, seriously? Oh, are you picking a fight now? Moon Hyuna jumped to her feet and pulled Ye Rim into a big hug. You're going to ruin your makeup. You look better without it at your age. The two seemed to get along better than I thought. What if Ye Rim actually joins Breaker in 3 years? That guild collapses 4 years from now. Of course, the future might not play out the same way, but maybe I should just recruit Moon Hyuna myself. She's a hunter who's too talented to let rot in the aftermath of a scandal, even if she is an annoying woman. Applying the keyword wouldn't be too difficult. Sure, there's the whole man-woman dynamic to consider, but Moon Hyuna is likely to visit me often because of her interest in the mounts. She'll probably come by regularly to check on the monsters I'm raising. She even came out of her way to meet me today. So with enough joking around and friendly gestures, I could gradually apply the keyword to her. The real problem would be the additional effects of the keyword. I know she'll never had a caretaker in her life. Unlike Yu Myanwoo, who grew up largely neglected, Moon Hyuna had been an athlete who made it to the world stage. She must have had plenty of people supporting her. Parents, coaches, trainers, maybe even mentors. If it ends up being sports-related, it wouldn't be so bad. I could handle her viewing me as her coach, or maybe even her dad. If she starts calling me mom, well, I could live with that. She's older than me, so it'd just come off as a joke. I could establish trust with the keyword and then nudge her away from Breaker when things start going downhill there. We won't get along, but having her in Haeyun wouldn't be a bad thing. She's got solid skills, and she works well with Ye Rim. Currently, S-Class dungeon teams are composed of 1 S-Class hunter and a few A-Class hunters. But once dungeon difficulties increase, there will be teams with multiple S-Classes. Yu-Yan and Ye Rim can't be on the same team since their attributes clash, but Ye Rim and Moon Hyuna would be a great match. A powerful single-shot attacker and a wide-area specialist who excels at binding enemies. Ye Rim even has a wide-area buff. Once they get their teamwork down, they'd make a fantastic pair. The more I think about it, the more appealing this idea sounds. Yeah, whether she becomes Ye Rim's partner or mine, I'll do my part as her guardian and try to reel her in. With that decision made, I watched the two playing around. It was oddly warm-hearting. I hope they continue to get along well. The broadcast went off without a hitch.
There weren't any particularly difficult tasks. I just had to explain a bit about Peace, answer some questions, and do simple things like checking his bite strength and reaction speed by throwing a ball. They asked me to show how much I care about Peace, but that was the easiest part. I love the little guy after all. I'm really glad Peace is going to be Yu Yun's mount. If he'd had to be sent far away, I'd be heartbroken. At least when Yu Yun isn't on a dungeon raid, I can still keep him with me. Mister, are you drinking a mana potion again? After the shoot, I put Peace down for a moment and pulled out a mana potion. Ye Rim walked over and asked me, "Want one? It's orange flavored." The smell is like orange, but it barely has any sweetness and it's super sour. The apple-flavored one's bland and gross. I think it's fine. It's not like I drink it for the taste. I uncapped the bottle and downed it in one go. Ye Rim watched me with concern in her eyes. "That's your third bottle today. Is it really okay to drink that much? Isn't there a recommended daily limit?" "Why would there be a limit? It's just for recovering mental fatigue." I can't exactly tell her that using promising talent drains my mana. No matter how hard I looked, there was no one worth checking out today. With so many people around, I only had time to scan for any higher-tier status windows. The best I saw was a C class in both skills and stats. One of the camera operators has a C class special skill, but I didn't want to waste the once-a-month optimization for someone like that. I never know when an A class or higher might pop up, so I need to save it. Why couldn't the Awakening Center specialize in non-combat skills? If that were the case, I wouldn't have to worry about it. Maybe I should just open my own private Awakening Center. Since I can see what skills people are likely to get, I could create the perfect environment for their awakening. Wait, that sounds like too much work. "Mister, why are you spacing out again?" Ye Rim shouted as she bounced up and down. "You said it was for recovering mental fatigue, but you're still dazed right after drinking it. Are you sure you're not sick? Chronic fatigue could be a sign of something serious." She looked startled by her own words, her face paling. "I'm not seriously ill. I'm perfectly healthy, even 5 years from now. I was just thinking for a bit. Peace, come here." "But mister, your stats are F class. Don't you think you should get a health checkup? When was the last time you had one?" "Short F class is weak, but I'm still just an ordinary person. I'm fragile compared to S classes, but I'm not that bad off." "I don't remember, but I'm fine. Hey, who are you calling?" "The guild leader. I'm going to tell him to schedule you a full checkup." "No, I'm fine, really." "I don't want to go to the hospital and a full checkup. That means they'll want to do an endoscopy. Sure, I could do it without sedation, but that would be awful."
Kim Sung-han always worries about your health. You should take better care of yourself. Yerim put her phone back in her pocket, grumbling. That guy only worries because he thinks I'm an old man. Can we take a picture with you?" At that moment, 2 girls who looked like celebrities approached us. Both were F class, fully unawakened. "Sure, go ahead." "Can we pet him?" "Just in case, no touching." No matter how gentle and well-behaved Peace is, he's still a monster. The only reason he's allowed to be here today is because the Hunter Association gave special permission and I had A-class and S-class hunters like Yerim and Moon Hyuna with me. If it were just me, I wouldn't be allowed to take him outside. It's still illegal. Thanks to Peace, it seems like the laws around tamed monsters might get changed sooner than expected. "Can I take a picture with him too?" Seeing the 2 girls take their photo, another person approached us. Soon, the crowd started to grow, one person after another joining in. Were they just waiting for someone to break the ice? I won't be coming out in public often, so I might as well do it. "Peace is adorable. Do you have an SNS account?" An SNS account, huh? Maybe I should make one. I've got plenty of pictures and videos of Peace saved up, especially the ones from when he was smaller. He's still cute now, but he was even cuter back then. I don't have one yet, but I'll think about it. Please make one. Yeah. I guess the world deserves to see how cute my baby is.
Just then, a commotion stirred at the back of the crowd. The people parted, and a man walked through. Immediately, both Yerim and I, along with everyone else, turned to look at him. Whoa, seriously. He's disgustingly handsome. Yerim, could you be a little more polite? But yeah, she's right. He really is disgustingly good-looking. And his awakening potential stats were B-class with A-class skills. Unawakened, ? Park Ha-yul. Awakening potential, B-class. Optimized initial skills, can't look away, feels comfortable to watch, perfect finishing touch, A. All his skills were A-class, and judging by the names, they seemed to be special skills. Something related to his appearance, maybe? I guess a face like that really is a talent. Even if he awakened with S-class stats, I bet his face wouldn't change much. Stat boosts aren't about making you more handsome, they're just about balance. If your features are already perfect, there's not much they can improve. Excuse me, could I have your autograph? Park Ha-yul asked Yerim, blushing. He's probably a celebrity, but the roles are reversed here. An autograph? Yes, I really respect and admire hunters. This is my first time meeting an S-class in person. I wanted to visit the association when you went to get your grade confirmed, but I had a scheduling conflict. Then I heard you were filming here today, so I came as fast as I could. Park Ha-yul couldn't hide his excitement as he politely handed over an autograph sheet. Some people do act like that. There are fans who treat hunters like celebrities, especially the S-class ones, who are also usually good-looking. As time goes on, the fan base only grows. But it's kind of funny to see someone who's even more handsome than an S-class acting like this. And once he awakens, he'll at least be a B-class. Optimized awakening is probably impossible for him. Those skills look like ones he'd never get through the Awakening Center. If he's not careful, he could end up as a half-baked hunter with good stats, but terrible skills. Not that I'd want to recruit him either. Just thinking about using the keyword on a face like that makes me cringe. He's a good-looking actor. I'm sure he'll be fine on his own. No need to get involved. I'm currently shooting a movie. Would it be all right if I sent you a ticket to the premiere? You don't have to come. I'd like to send you a small gift and the invitation, at least. Yeah, send it to Heian Guild. Thank you so much. He's got it bad. But a movie, huh? I tilted my head in thought. I don't remember seeing an actor that good-looking. Maybe I missed it because around this time I wasn't paying attention to pop culture. Still, with a face like that, he should have appeared in plenty of things afterwards. He's not someone you'd easily forget. So why don't I remember him? Did he retire early? Han-Yujin, having secured Yerim's autograph, Park Ha-yul now turned to me with a rather intense gaze. Could I get your autograph as well? Maybe a paw print from Piece 2? Just the autograph. Let's get this over with quickly. We probably won't run into each other anyway.
Chapter 45. Why don't you come meet me now? After returning home, I sent a text to the contact number for Goblin that Seok Kim-yong had given me. Apparently they only receive texts, not calls. There was no reply, but it wasn't long before Goblin revealed herself in mid-air. I recognized that mask. I'd seen it in my Korean literature textbook. It was the Mat-tu-gi mask, right? Mat-tu-gi, the character who mocked and ridiculed his master. I still remember how my Korean teacher's impression of Mat-tu-gi was spot on. Did she do it on purpose? Geez, Boss Kim, you called for me. I hadn't heard from you in so long. I thought you might have set off on your final journey to the afterlife. I was just in the middle of placing a dried pollock head on your memorial table, sticking a big spoon into a mountain of rice and bowing twice. That's enough. Why aren't you playing along? Should I grab a drum and start banging it? I should send her off quickly. I'm too tired to play around with someone as tricky as a 3-year-old. Enough. I have a job for you. I'm a busy goblin. I don't do petty tasks. She sure was acting cocky for someone who was technically under me. I took out the tablet I had prepared. You'll change your mind when you hear it. You're pretty confident. Let's hear it then. The goblin crossed her arms and nodded her head. Is she my boss or something? Shouldn't you be a bit more respectful to your superior? Fine, fine, tell me. The job is simple. I need you to investigate dungeons in foreign countries. Dungeons? Yeah, I've outlined the details on this tablet. I had written down the investigation criteria and methods as best as I could recall. First, the plan was to investigate all the dungeons in nearby Japan. Once the data was collected, Seok Hyan would review the data and point out any shortcomings, and then we could address those. Normally, foreigners aren't allowed access to dungeons, but with your ability to turn invisible and teleport, you should be able to investigate easily. Of course I can do that, but why should I? By discovering the laws governing dungeon creation, we can reduce the damage caused by dungeon breaks. In simple terms, you'll be saving countless lives. The great and powerful goblin would be doing a heroic deed. I do like that kind of thing. The goblin snatched the tablet out of my hand, shouting in excitement. I hope she knows how to use it. Thankfully, she seemed to navigate the tablet screen with ease. But do I really have to go to other countries? It's too far. Japan is close. Just sneak onto a plane and you'll be there in no time. Please, my beloved Union. Hurry up and unlock that keyword so I can get the long-distance portal skill. At the mention of beloved, Goblin cringed. Not that again. I won't work if you keep saying that. Why does a goblin hate being called beloved? Goblins are naturally affectionate beings after all. Goblins can shapeshift into beautiful women to seduce men or pursue women, according to the encyclopedia. Really? Of course. A true goblin should be accustomed to love. I love you, Yun. Come on, you try it too. Hesitating for a moment, then Goblin shouted loudly, I love you, Mr. Kim. Good, that's right. I love you too, Yun. As we exchanged proclamations of love, I checked my skill window just in case. Still no sign of Goblin's name appearing. I guess knowing her personal backstory might help, but saying it 3 or 4 times didn't seem to cut it. I wonder how many more times I'll need to say it. I'll head to Japan now. Have a safe trip. Be careful. Your safety is the most important thing. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I love you. The goblin disappeared without a trace. I stared at the empty space for a while before letting out a sigh. This should be enough, right? I sat on the edge of the bed and eventually lay down completely. Now I just had to pass the data on to Seok Hyan. Once her research lab was set up in my building, her safety would be guaranteed, and there would be no interference from the government or any particular guild. Unlike 5 years in the future, no one would be hoarding or monopolizing information now. And there's Peace and Yoon Young-woo, too. I'll probably end up turning both into S-rank hunters. Haven't I done enough at this point? Now there's not much left to do except raise the kids. Maybe I'll occasionally awaken some promising non-awakened individuals as I wander around. Even though I have future knowledge, it's not like I know everything. Many things have already changed, so some of it is useless now. With this much groundwork laid in, things should run more smoothly from here. Honestly, I feel like I've done way too much. Once you start rolling, it's hard to stop. But this is really the end now. I've ensured everyone's safety, secured a decent fortune, and my younger brother, who is already doing well, will do even better. If I manage to raise Kim Song-han properly and bring Moon Hyun-ah into the fold, that's 4 S-rank combat hunters. And if I keep finding promising combat or healer types, it's only a matter of time before we achieve the #1 spot in the country. Should I really join Heian then after all? That sounds like a pain. Maybe I should cancel the family discount and change the deal to being the #1 in the world instead. At least my brother won't work me to the bone, right? I might just get a title slapped on me and be done with it. Anyway, this is really the end now. Everything is done. Except for one thing. I know. The guy who made the system still bothers me. But they said it was all confirmed, didn't they? It's probably really over. Maybe I should have tested teleportation when I had goblins summoned. It feels off. Damn it. Whatever. I've done enough. I'll just fill the waiting time occasionally and live peacefully raising monsters. Hey, mister, the commercials are over.
Yerim, who was sitting on the couch hugging a cushion, shouted excitedly. By the way, that couch was our 5th one. The previous 4 were devoured by Peace, who's now rolling around on the table. The king of destruction, I swear. I'm not really interested. Why not? I even set the recording. Why bother recording it? Well, I set it to record too, but still. Peace is going to be on it, even if seeing myself is a bit embarrassing. I have to save the parts with Peace. As I sat down on the couch, Peace jumped onto my lap as if he had been waiting. Take it easy when you jump. Remember your size. I patted his head as he nuzzled against me, and Yerim shot me a long, knowing look. Did you know Peace is such a pretender? What do you mean, a pretender? When you're not around, he doesn't even wag his tail, let alone acknowledge anyone. He totally ignores people. Well, you did torment him the first time you met him. He has every reason to ignore you. Yerim made an indignant face at my comment. That's different. Oh, it's starting. A short narration played as Yerim was introduced first. The caption described her as the youngest S-rank combat hunter. It's on already? Myung-woo came out carrying snacks. The delicious smell immediately made me sit up straight. What's that? Yerim also perked up, putting down the cushion she had been hugging. Myung-woo set the plate he was holding down on the table. Fried scorched rice and buttered potatoes. Just hearing it sounded delicious. Yerim and I both reached for the food at almost the same time, each grabbing a piece of fried scorched rice and popping it into our mouths. Crunch. Wow, how did he get it so perfectly crispy? And the amount of sugar sprinkled on top is just right. It brings out the nutty flavor without overpowering it with sweetness. Oh my God, what is this? What is this? Did you make this yourself? Yerim, her eyes wide open with amazement, stabbed a buttered potato with her fork. Without waiting for it to cool, she stuffed it in her mouth and chewed, her expression turning blissful. Myung-woo, oppa! Her way of addressing him just turned into oppa. Yerim, you little brat, didn't you used to look down on Myung-woo? Now you're swooning over him after one piece of fried rice and a potato? Though I have to admit, it's worth swooning over. These potatoes are too good. It's almost a shame that Peace only cares about mana stones and monster meat. Gam! Just then, Peace let out a cry toward the TV. I looked up to see my own face on screen, sitting in a chair while holding Peace. Seeing myself on TV was a bit embarrassing. Wait, what's with that caption? Mister, look at your caption. It says, Monster Dad. Yerim, holding a piece of scorched rice in each hand, laughed hysterically. Sure enough, the caption under my name read, Monster Dad Han Yujin. Damn it! I distinctly told them I was a beast tamer, that my skill was called Beast Tamer. Why did they turn it into Monster Dad? It looks like something from a family variety show where the dad says to his kid, Listen to your dad, Peace, as the show ends. Is this that kind of show? Why does it look like this? Being on TV, you're really amazing. Unlike the giggling Yerim, Myung-woo was really impressed. Amazing, my foot. You'll be on TV like this soon enough, too. Just then, my phone rang. It was a call from an unknown number. Who could it be? Hello? Yujin, I just saw you on TV. Do you remember me? We used to work at the factory together. I didn't remember at all. I worked at the factory, 4 years ago? But with everything that's happened, it feels more like 9 years ago. No wonder I couldn't recall. Sorry, but I don't really remember. Really? That's too bad. How about we meet up sometime? I've started this new business and it's got this amazing product. Oh, it's one of those calls. They're quick, aren't they? How long has it been since the broadcast aired? Really? What's the product? Showing a little interest, I let them start babbling on. Not very creative. It lacks conviction and they're not explaining it well. I don't think I'm interested. Thanks, but I'll pass.
I hung up and blocked the number. Yerim, who had been watching me take the call, shook her head in disbelief. Why even answer? Just hang up right away. I changed my number, you know. I even had people contact me from a distant relative's, in-laws, cousin's, friend's side. You should change yours too. I'm not planning on changing it anytime soon. It's fun. Fun? Yeah, I like spam calls, especially creative ones. They pay for the call, they talk enthusiastically, and the service is good. What's not to like? It's an affordable, low-effort way to kill time while lying around. The only downside is that the stories tend to get repetitive. Oh, another one. Mr. Yerim looked at me in disbelief. Myung-woo was seemingly equally confused. Is it really that weird? No, I mean, if they really have a good product, I might invest. You'll get scammed. Find a different hobby. Yeah, you might get taken in if you're not careful. These kids, I've been doing this for years now. I know how it goes. Still, I felt self-conscious, so I didn't take the next call and switched my phone to silent mode. With all the buzz surrounding Peace's value and the fact that major girls were considering investments, I was bound to get all kinds of calls. Looks like things are going to be fun for a while. Yawning, I walked into the living room. There was a really talkative person last night, and I ended up staying up too late. Someone with such a knack for conversation should be on TV or write a book instead of trying to scam people. What a waste of talent. If I used Optimized Awakening, they'll probably get a related skill. Something like a tongue that floats even in water. Sorry I'm late. Were you really bored? As I opened the door, Peace rushed out and rubbed his cheek against my leg. Grrr.
Okay. We'll go out as soon as you eat. After having a lazy late breakfast that was more like brunch, we headed outside. Peace trotted ahead of me, leading the way. Near the dormitory floor's elevators and stairs, there was a guard posted now, unlike before. Not just a regular guard, it was a hunter. Hello. I greeted him and took a quick glance. B rank, attack type. The visitor badge hanging from his neck showed he was sent by MKC. Since my protection was being jointly handled, each guild was taking turns sending bodyguards. Yesterday, Breaker had even sent an A-rank hunter, but MKC seemed a bit stingy. Of course, B rank wasn't low, but still, the A rank from Breaker had been surprisingly nice, unlike the guild leader. Friendly, not arrogant, and a beauty to boot, with a keen interest in monster mounts. Probably why she had been so kind, but hey, I'll take motivated kindness over unmotivated rudeness any day. Are you heading to the training room? Yes. The B-rank hunter pressed the elevator button for me. This is the kind of treatment I could only have dreamed of before. But now, I'm also a B rank. When the elevator arrived, Peace hopped on and quickly pressed the button for the basement floor. Such a smart boy. Whose kid is he, seriously? We arrived at the basement floor where the training rooms were, and I collected the key to Peace's private training room, though calling it private wasn't exactly a special favor. Since combat-capable skills were banned in urban areas, the training rooms were almost never fully booked. If anything, there were always more rooms than there were people to use them. Most hunters B rank and above preferred to use dedicated training facilities in the outskirts, like in Gyeonggi Province. As a result, high-end's underground training rooms were used more often by their affiliated smaller guilds than by high-end guild members themselves. Most major guilds had several smaller guilds under their umbrella. This was because they had to manage not only high-level dungeons, but also a certain percentage of mid to low-level dungeons. Sending high-ranking hunters from the main guild to clear mid to low-level dungeons would be a waste of manpower, so they entrusted those duties to smaller affiliated guilds. In return, they provided support like access to training rooms and equipment management teams. High-end had a few such affiliated guilds as well. I knew that up until 5 years from now, none of them caused any major issues. I didn't remember all the smaller guilds in detail, but that's how it had been. The fact that High-end's affiliated guilds were so well behaved was proof that Yuhyun, for a guild leader, was pretty mild-mannered.
I can guarantee it, having spent 5 years with nothing to criticize about my brother, which only made him more annoying. Out of all the guild leaders, he's the best.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.